Have you ever felt like something isn't quite right, as if you're lost or disconnected from your true self? Maybe you've ignored this inner voice for too long, that persistent feeling that there's something more, something you should be listening to but haven't. What you might not realize is that these feelings are clear signs that your higher self is trying to communicate with you. And what happens if you keep ignoring these signs? You might end up living a life full of frustration, making wrong decisions, repeating the same mistakes, and feeling like you're always chasing something you can never reach. This creates a void that only grows over time. The pain of not being on the right path, of not listening to what your soul is trying to tell you, can leave you completely out of sync with what you truly want for your life. But here's the key. Paying attention to these signs can change everything. They are guides, showing you the right path, helping you make the best decisions, and aligning you with what truly matters. In today's video, I'm going to show you 7 clear signs that your higher self is trying to get your attention. If you learn to recognize these signs, you'll finally understand what's wrong and how to get back on the path that will lead you to peace, clarity, and purpose. You don't have to keep feeling lost. The solution is here, and it begins by paying attention to the signs your higher self is already sending. Let's discover together how to listen to this inner voice and transform your life from the inside out. And let's get into the first sign. But first, just check if you're already subscribed to the channel, because the upcoming videos will be a series of content guiding you towards self-discovery. First sign: vivid dreams. Have you ever woken up from a dream so real it felt like it actually happened? Those dreams where you remember the details, the colors, the places, and even the people, as if you were living an adventure. Well, those dreams may be more important than you think. They might be how your higher self, that wise and special part of you, is trying to send you a message. Think about it. During the day, with everything going on around you, work, social commitments, friends, family, it can be hard to pay attention to what your heart or intuition is saying. But when you sleep, everything quiets down, and that's when your higher self takes the opportunity to communicate. It may show you things through dreams that you might not have noticed while you were awake. Imagine your dreams as a movie playing in your mind, but instead of just being a story, they could contain clues about important things in your life. Maybe you dream of a situation similar to something happening now, or something that could happen soon. Your higher self uses these dreams to give you hints about what to do, how to solve a problem, or even to show you something you need to learn. Now, how can you tell if a dream is special? These dreams, which we call vivid, are the ones that feel so real that you remember them even after waking up. It's as if you were actually there, living that moment. And often, they bring messages or feelings that can help you understand something going on in your life. For example, you might dream of a place that brings you joy, or even a bit of fear. These feelings are important clues. When you wake up, you can think, what was that dream trying to tell me? Is there something in my life now that makes me feel this way? Your higher self might be helping you pay attention to your feelings and how to handle them. And here's something even more amazing. Sometimes, these vivid dreams can show you things that will happen in the future. Maybe you dream of a place you've never been, but after some time, you end up there. It's like your higher self is preparing you for what's to come, showing you the way. But don't worry if you wake up occasionally without understanding what the dream meant. That's normal. Some messages from your higher self take a bit of time to make sense. As you pay more attention to your dreams and your feelings, it will get easier to understand what they're trying to show you. So here's a tip. The next time you have one of those real feeling dreams, try to remember the details. What happened? Who was there? How did you feel? These details are clues that can help you decode what your higher self is trying to say. And if you'd like, you can even jot down the dream as soon as you wake up, so you don't forget. These vivid dreams are like a conversation between you and your higher self, which is always trying to guide you, help you grow, and understand more about yourself. So, keep an eye on these dreams. They might be showing you something important about what's happening in your life, or what's still to come. Second sign: mirroring in interactions. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when you're talking to someone, you start to speak and act in a very similar way? Maybe you say something, and then the other person repeats the same thing, or maybe you both start laughing at the same time, almost as if you're in sync somehow. This is called mirroring, and it's a fascinating phenomenon that happens when we're truly connected with someone else. This mirroring can be a sign that you and the other person are sharing more than just a conversation. It's as if in that moment, your energies are so aligned that one of you starts reflecting the behavior of the other. And you know what's even cooler? When this happens, it might be that your higher self, that wiser and more intuitive part of you, is trying to send you a message. Think of it like this. When you're mirroring someone, it's as if your body and mind are saying, "Pay attention to this. There's something here worth noticing." Sometimes this can mean you're with a person who shares the same thoughts and feelings as you, or that you're both in a moment of mutual learning. Mirroring happens often between close friends, family members, or even work colleagues who know each other well, but it can also happen with someone you've just met, which might be a sign that this person has something important to teach you, or vice versa. Now, let's imagine a more typical scenario for adults. You're in a work meeting or having lunch with friends, and suddenly, you notice that you and another person start saying the same things or making the same gestures, like crossing your arms at the same time or smiling at the same moments. At first glance, it might seem like just a coincidence, but it's a sign of connection. You're tuned in, and what's happening is deeper than just the conversation. Mirroring shows that you're truly paying attention to each other, and there's an energetic exchange happening. So, what does this have to do with your higher self? Well, when you notice you're mirroring someone or that someone is mirroring you, it's an important moment to stop and think, why are we so connected right now? Mirroring is a sign that the relationship or conversation is meaningful. It might be a cue that you can learn something valuable from this person, or that it's the right time to open up and share something important with them. This can happen even in everyday situations like at home, when you and your partner start saying the same things or finish each other's sentences. It can be a sign that you're aligned and connected on a deeper level, which strengthens the relationship. And for those who are younger, it can also happen with friends at school. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you and your best friend say similar things or laugh at exactly the same jokes? That's because you're very close, and mirroring is your higher self's way of saying, this friendship is special. Pay attention to how much you understand each other. Another important aspect of mirroring is that it helps us understand others better. When you start reflecting someone's words, gestures, or attitudes, you begin to sense what the other person is feeling, even without them directly saying it. This teaches us to be more empathetic, to look beyond words, and to perceive what's really happening. If a friend starts mirroring your behavior, or you mirror theirs, it might be a way of showing that they identify with you, that they understand what you're going through. Moreover, mirroring can be a way to improve communication with those around you. When you mirror someone, you're subconsciously saying, I understand you, I'm here with you. This creates a bond of trust and mutual understanding, something that's very important in any kind of relationship, whether with friends, family, or even colleagues. But a word of caution. Not all mirroring is always positive. Sometimes, it can reveal that we're absorbing energies or behaviors that don't benefit us. If you start mimicking someone who's sad, angry, or anxious, it might be a warning from your higher self to protect yourself from that negative energy. This doesn't mean you should avoid this person, but perhaps it's time to recognize that you're being influenced by them and take steps to help them or care for your own emotional well-being. In the end, mirroring is a phenomenon that helps us see the depth of our connections with people. It's a subtle reminder that we're all connected in some way and that every interaction has the potential to teach us something, whether about ourselves or others. So, the next time you notice that you're mirroring someone or being mirrored, pause for a moment and think, what does my higher self want me to see here? What can I learn from this connection? This might help you realize something that was hidden before, but could be very important for your personal growth. Have you heard of this concept before? Have you been through similar situations? Are you ready to start applying it in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Third sign, intuition speaks louder. You know that feeling you sometimes get, as if something inside you is telling you to do or not do something. Sometimes it feels like just a hunch, but this feeling actually has a special name: intuition. Intuition is like an inner voice, one you can't see or hear with your ears, but that you feel deep down, as if it were a warning. And this voice is one of the most important ways your higher self uses to communicate with you. Think of it this way: your higher self is like an invisible friend, always by your side, wanting to help you make the best decisions. It has a greater perspective on what's happening in your life, and can foresee when something's not right, or when an incredible opportunity is about to appear. When you feel that intuition, it's your higher self saying, "Hey, pay attention. Go this way." Intuition often shows up in work situations, personal life decisions, and even at critical moments. Who hasn't found themselves thinking, "Something tells me I shouldn't take this job offer," or "I feel like today is the right day to make this decision"? This feeling, even without a logical reason behind it, often leads us to make choices that end up being the right ones. When you have a strange feeling about going to a place or doing an activity, and even if your friends really want you to go, something inside you says, "No, this isn't a good idea." Or, on the other hand, you might feel an urge to try something new, even if you're unsure it will work out. These feelings are ways your higher self guides you toward the safest path or an opportunity you didn't even know existed. A good example of this is when you're faced with two paths. One seems easier and the other a bit harder, but somehow your intuition tells you the harder path is the right one. Intuition doesn't rely on logic or the information you know. It's a feeling that comes from within, connecting you with something bigger. And, most of the time, following this intuition leads you to very important experiences. Why does this happen? Intuition is like a shortcut to wisdom. Your higher self, that part of you that's always connected to something greater and wiser, already knows what will happen in certain situations, and tries to alert or guide you through intuition. Often, we don't hear this inner voice because we're too busy or distracted, but the more attention you pay to it, the clearer it becomes. You might be wondering, but how do I know when my intuition is speaking? Great question. Intuition usually appears as a strong, almost instant sensation. It can be a quick voice that says do this or don't do this, or it might be a feeling in your body, like butterflies in your stomach or an unexpected calmness. And the most important thing is that intuition happens naturally, without you forcing it. You just need to learn to recognize and trust it. Sometimes intuition can seem a bit confusing, especially when it leads you to make a decision that doesn't make much sense at the time. But, over time, you realize it was helping you avoid a problem or seize a big opportunity. That's why following your intuition can be one of the most important things you can do to live more consciously and connected to your higher self. This might mean trusting your instincts more when making big decisions, like changing jobs, starting a new relationship, or making an important choice for your family. Often, the best decisions are the ones that feel right in your heart, even if your mind still has doubts. Listening to your intuition is learning to trust that signal that appears before you do something. It might happen during a game, when you feel like you should try a different strategy, or at school, when you feel like you should talk to a friend who seems too quiet. Intuition is a powerful way to guide you in both big and small situations. And here's a secret. The more you practice listening to your intuition, the stronger it gets. Start by paying attention to the little things. When you have that feeling about something, take a mental note and see how things unfold. Over time, you'll notice that intuition was guiding you down the right path. And trust me, it makes all the difference. In short, intuition is like a gift your higher self gives you to help you navigate life. Trust it more and see how it can lead you to unexpected but amazing places. We all have this ability to listen to our own inner wisdom. Just trust and follow this quiet guidance that comes from within. Fourth sign, the sudden appearance of people. Have you ever noticed how, sometimes, the right people show up in your life at the exact moment you need them most? It might seem like a big coincidence, but often, these appearances have a greater purpose. The universe, or your higher self, could be bringing these people to you to offer support, advice, or simply to help you see things from a different perspective. Imagine you're going through a tough time. It could be a problem at school, at work, or even a personal situation where you're feeling a bit lost. Suddenly, someone steps into the picture. A friend you haven't seen in a while, a work colleague you haven't talked to much, or even a stranger who starts a casual conversation, but somehow ends up helping you see the solution you couldn't find. This is what we call synchronicity, that magical moment when the right person appears at just the right time. These encounters can happen in various ways. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed at work, and a new colleague you didn't know well offers to help, bringing a completely fresh perspective. Or perhaps you're going through a difficult time in a relationship, and an old friend, whom you haven't seen in ages, shows up out of the blue, bringing light-hearted conversation and advice that shifts your way of thinking. These situations aren't just coincidences. When people appear out of nowhere, they may be guided by the universe, by your higher self, to offer exactly what you need at that moment. And the interesting part is, you don't always realize you need help until these people arrive. They are like pieces that fit into your personal puzzle, helping you see things from a different perspective. These encounters can be a reminder that sometimes the support you need comes from the people you least expect. These sudden appearances also have much to do with the idea that we're all connected in some way. When your higher self senses that you need support or guidance, it orchestrates these meetings, bringing the right people into your path. It's as if the universe is always looking out for you, ensuring that in times of difficulty, there's someone to lend you a hand. But the amazing part is that, just as these people show up to help you, you might also be that person in someone else's life. Maybe, without realizing it, you've been that person who arrives at the right moment to offer help, even if it was just a kind word or a simple smile. Sometimes we don't notice it, but our higher self also guides us to be the help someone else needs. These appearances are a reminder that we're not alone. The universe is always working behind the scenes, arranging these encounters that may seem casual at first, but actually hold great meaning. And you know what's even more interesting? Often, these people enter our lives not only to help us, but also to teach us something important. So, the next time someone shows up unexpectedly to offer support or advice, pause for a moment and think, is this just a coincidence? Or is something more happening here? It could be that this person is bringing an important message from your higher self, or was sent to remind you of something you needed to realize at that moment. And the opposite is also true. If you feel a calling to help someone, follow that intuition. Often, we're guided to be in the right place at the right time, offering a word of comfort, advice, or simply being the company someone else needs. These unexpected connections are a reminder that we're all part of something bigger, and that we're all connected in ways we may not always see. Ultimately, the sudden appearance of people in your life is one of the many signs that your higher self is always watching over you, guiding the right events and people onto your path. Be mindful of these moments and appreciate the lessons they may bring. Life has an incredible way of showing us that, even in the hardest times, we're never truly alone. These encounters might seem small at first glance, but the impact they have on our lives is immense. They show us that there's always support available when we need it, as long as we're open to receiving it. Alright, now let's move on to the fifth sign. But before we do, I noticed you haven't left a like on this video yet. This really helps YouTube keep recommending our content, allowing us to continue supporting you. So go ahead and give this video a like. It's free, and it means a lot. Thanks. Let's continue. Fifth sign: repetitive or reflective thoughts. Now imagine this. You're living your daily routine with 1,000 things to do. Work, school, family responsibilities, all of it takes up your time and of course your attention. But suddenly, a thought starts popping up frequently. It might be about someone you haven't spoken to in a while, a situation that happened and was left unresolved, or even an important decision you've been putting off. This thought keeps coming back, even in the most unexpected moments, like when you're driving, doing a simple task, or just relaxing. At first, you try to ignore it. After all, there are so many other things to worry about, right? But for some reason, this thought won't leave you alone. It keeps returning to your mind until you start to wonder, why can't I stop thinking about this? This kind of repetitive thought is like an alert from your higher self. It's trying to draw your attention to something you need to face, understand, or resolve. When the thought keeps coming back, it's your higher self saying, "This is important. Don't ignore it." Imagine that after days or even weeks of trying to ignore this idea, you finally decide to act. Maybe you choose to reach out to the person who's been on your mind. Or perhaps you finally decide to tackle an issue that's been bothering you for a while. And when you take this step, you realize there was something much bigger behind that thought. Perhaps the person needed you, or maybe the decision you made was exactly what was missing to set things right. These repetitive thoughts, which often seem small or even annoying, are actually guides. They're showing you what needs attention in your life. It could be an opportunity you haven't yet recognized, a problem that needs to be resolved, or even a feeling you've been avoiding. These thoughts may be related to bigger issues, like changing jobs, addressing a family situation, or making an important decision in your personal life. Perhaps you have a persistent idea about starting a new project, or a feeling that you need to talk to someone, but have been postponing it. The insistence of this thought is a way of pushing you in the right direction, so that you can finally deal with the situation consciously. So, what should you do when these thoughts appear? The first step is to stop and reflect on them. Ask yourself, why does this keep coming back? What do I need to do about it? Often, the answer is right in front of you, but you haven't yet noticed it. It could be something you're avoiding, or something that seems small but has a greater impact than you imagine. Moreover, these reflective thoughts help you grow. They force you to pause and think about your choices, your emotions, and what's happening in your life. Instead of ignoring or putting them off, it's worth facing them with courage. When you do this, you start to see things more clearly and feel more prepared to move forward. These thoughts are, in fact, opportunities for self-discovery. They invite you to look more deeply at yourself and your situations, allowing you to make necessary adjustments. The more you allow yourself to understand what these thoughts are trying to tell you, the more connected you become with your higher self and the decisions you need to make. So, the next time you notice a thought that keeps coming back, stop for a moment and ask yourself, what does my higher self want me to see here? Remember, these thoughts aren't just distractions, they're there for a reason. They're a reminder that something needs your attention, and by focusing on them, you may discover something important that will help you grow and move forward with more clarity and confidence. Sixth sign, distancing from certain people. As you grow and evolve, both personally and spiritually, it's natural for some people to begin drifting away from your life. This may seem strange at first, but it's something that's part of your development process. It can be painful, confusing, or even make you wonder, why am I distancing myself from someone who's always been by my side? Now, imagine you're going through a phase of personal transformation. Maybe you're dedicating more time to self-discovery, setting new goals, or simply changing the way you see the world. In this process, you begin to notice that certain friendships or relationships no longer make sense as they once did. Conversations don't flow like before, interests differ, and even the energies between you seem misaligned. These changes can make you feel uncomfortable, but what you may not realize is that your higher self is guiding these separations. As you start to grow and change internally, the people around you also need to resonate with this new version of you. And often, this means letting go of people who are no longer aligned with your current path. This distancing can happen naturally, without major conflicts or arguments. Sometimes you just notice that conversations with certain people become less frequent, messages are exchanged less often, or the time spent together doesn't feel as enjoyable as before. This separation is the universe's way of helping you create space for new connections that are more aligned with who you are becoming. For adults, this might mean that some old friends, with whom you once had a strong connection, no longer share the same interests, values, or lifestyle. It might be time to allow new relationships into your life, people who encourage your growth and support your goals. If you're younger, it might be that a childhood friendship that seemed forever no longer feels meaningful, and that's completely normal. This separation isn't always easy. Sometimes you may feel guilt or sadness about distancing yourself from people who were once important to you. But it's important to remember that this distancing is part of the evolution process. As you become more aligned with your higher self, you attract people who are in tune with your growth. And those who are no longer on that same wavelength naturally start to drift away. By accepting these changes, you also open up space for new connections that will support you on your journey of evolution. It's important to remember that, although it may be painful, this process doesn't mean you've stopped caring about these people. It just means you're on different paths. And this is part of life. In the end, these separations happen because your higher self is guiding you to connect with people who will help you grow even further. Trust this process and allow the changes to flow. Although it may be challenging, it's a sign that you're moving in the right direction, creating a healthier and more positive environment around you. Seventh sign: desire for isolation and meditation. Have you ever felt that urge to be alone, to step away from the noise of the world, and just reconnect with yourself? This desire for isolation might seem strange, especially if you're someone who enjoys being around others. But often, it's an important sign that your higher self is trying to guide you to a space of inner silence where you can find clarity and peace. Imagine that suddenly, you start noticing that your usual activities, routine conversations, and even being around people are wearing you out more than usual. You feel a growing desire to be in a calm environment, maybe to think, meditate, or simply to breathe without hurry. This isn't a sign that you're escaping the world. It's your higher self calling you to take a pause. This is a moment to look inward and listen to what your inner self has to say. For many, this desire can feel like the need to unplug for a while. Perhaps you're constantly dealing with responsibilities and external pressures, work, family, important decisions, and without realizing it, your mind and body are asking for a break. Isolation isn't about avoiding your obligations. It's about recharging and reconnecting with your own needs. In these moments, simply sitting in silence, maybe meditating or taking a solo walk in the park, can bring a sense of renewal. Suddenly, you may feel like spending more time in your room, listening to music or reading, without people around all the time. It's not that you don't enjoy your friends or family, it's just that you need this moment for yourself. These moments of solitude help you organize your thoughts and process everything that's happening around you. Meditation, in particular, is a powerful practice for those feeling this need to isolate a bit. It's not just for adults. Anyone of any age can benefit from pausing for a moment, focusing on their breath, and calming the mind. When you meditate, you create a space within yourself where you can more clearly hear your intuition, your emotions, and the messages from your higher self. Meditation helps you find balance, especially when everything around you feels like it's moving too fast. Sometimes, this desire for isolation is misunderstood. People might think you're sad or upset when, in reality, this time alone is exactly what you need to reconnect with yourself. It's important to remember that seeking this solitude doesn't mean you're avoiding the world. It means you're giving yourself the time you need to reflect, think, and recharge. These moments of isolation and meditation are like small retreats where you can reconnect with what truly matters. When you take this time for yourself, you return to those around you with a clearer mind, a calmer heart, and a renewed sense of peace. It's as if your higher self is preparing you to return to the world with more strength and clarity, ready to face any challenge that comes your way. So, the next time you feel this desire for isolation or the urge to meditate, embrace it. Use it to connect with your essence, to listen to what your higher self is trying to tell you. This time alone can be one of the most powerful ways to grow and find balance amidst the demands of the outside world. Now that you're familiar with the 7 signs that your higher self is trying to communicate with you, it's time to pay attention. These signs are all around us, waiting to be noticed. Sometimes, they show up as dreams, intuitions, or even that urge to be alone and reflect. But the most important thing is that to recognize them, you need to be aware. Don't ignore when something inside you makes you stop and think, when a thought keeps coming back, or when a situation seems to repeat itself. Your higher self is always trying to guide you, to show you the best path. Now, with all these tips, you can be more mindful and identify these signs more easily. Remember, the key is attention. The more present and connected you are with what's happening inside and around you, the quicker you'll notice these signs. And when you start recognizing them, your life will change in ways you never imagined. So, keep an eye out. Your higher self is always ready to help. You just need to be willing to listen. Thank you for being here with me. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep receiving the latest content. See you in the next video.